My favorite part of Dead by Daylight is the community and the connections that we form with each other. That's how I'd like to start this video. I think it's very cool that this game and the world that was created around it can spark so much discussion and creativity. I've seen people come up with chapter concepts, theories about the lore, debating the strength levels of perks and killers. This is all awesome. We find a space where people have a shared interest, and then friendships and community and creativity can come from that. However, with this being such an opinionated community, I've also seen DBD players ignore general social etiquette out of a general need to be correct and be seen as smart. Here's a hypothetical scenario. John just had a rough killer match where the survivors brought strong gen builds and got out quickly. He goes to his good friend Paul and says, "Wow, that game really sucked. I can't believe how survivor-sided this game is." Paul is a survivor main and thinks that the game is killer-sided. So he starts listing all the ways that the game is designed to be against survivors and how awful solo queue is. This starts a debate that turns into an argument regarding the game's balance and the killer experience versus the survivor experience. It doesn't matter that Paul and John play different sides. What matters is that Paul started a nothing argument instead of being a good friend. Sometimes someone is going to say something that you don't agree with, especially in this game where there are so many subjective issues. You really don't have to turn everything into a debate or an argument. I absolutely believe there's a time and place to express your thoughts on game balance, like in a DBD survey or in the comment section of a video about game balance or on an online forum. These are great places to debate as long as you're not throwing out personal attacks. But if someone is having a bad time with the game, I think that's the worst time to bring up a difference in opinion. I personally care more about my friends' mental well-being than whether or not they think that the fog vials are well balanced. Here's another scenario I've seen. Paul has been playing a lot of Survivor and keeps on getting tunneled out by killers. He's frustrated and he goes to his good friend John to complain about tunneling killers. John frequently tunnels survivors out in his matches and he defends the killers, explaining how tunneling is a valid strategy. It's easy to see the statement, "I don't like getting tunneled," and jump to the conclusion that the person doesn't like you because you tunnel survivors. But that's not what was said. The unpopular strategies in this game are unpopular because they're unfun to face. People want to have fun, so they will complain about unfun things. John shouldn't have defended the tunneling killers and should have instead expressed sympathy that Paul was having a bad time. Whether or not you believe that tunneling is a valid strategy is an example of an in-game philosophy or playstyle. I do my best to not let these get in the way of connecting with another human being. Here's another scenario I've seen. John just absolutely decimated a survivor team. They got no generators done, they didn't loot very well, and they all died. One of the survivors was a streamer named Mark. Mark is very frustrated about the game that he just had, and he's complaining about how John played to his chat. John finds this amusing and says something along the lines of "GG easy" or "get good," "skill issue," "stay mad," and Mark is even more frustrated. The anonymity of the internet can often be used as an excuse to be an asshole, but I think that if a person didn't like how you played, then you don't have to taunt them or change their mind or say anything at all. When I see a streamer shit-talking how I played, I just close the stream. Same with people being combative in endgame chat. Starting arguments would honestly just, make everyone's days worse, including mine. So the title of the video is How to Talk to Someone Who's Had a Bad Match. I've shown some examples of what not to do, so what should you do? I think context matters, but some very safe bets are saying nothing, which is good for strangers or public forums. Wow, that sucks. It's a bit impersonal, but sometimes that's all you need to hear. A cat gif always works, 100% effective. I'm sorry about that, which is, sympathetic. It's a strong choice. Sharing a similar experience. It's personal, makes the other party feel less alone. I generally assume that people don't want advice unless they explicitly ask for advice, so I just try to be kind and reassuring. Here's a scenario where I think both people would walk away in a better mood. John is having a bad time with DBD right now and says something about game balance that Paul doesn't agree with. Paul doesn't point out why John is wrong and instead says something like, "I'm sorry you're having frustrating games. That sucks." Or, "Yeah, I've been having rough games too. Maybe it might be a good time for us to take a break from DBD." I don't know if y'all have seen, but right now the game is in a buggy state and everyone is yelling at each other and is angry. I've seen arguments about survivor perks and items, killer changes, the developers, and everything in between. Dead by Daylight is constantly changing. Maybe I'm too optimistic, but I do believe that behavior will hear all of the yelling and complaints and make adjustments to the game to improve its current state. It's just unnecessary to start fights over in-game nonsense that will be changed within the month. Honestly, I think this video could be summed up by just the sentiment of be nice to people, right? You know, be kind. Be kind for the sake of being kind. I promise you, you will lose nothing, and you might gain a friend.